Hey everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of words, recorder of videos, and tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to a special Tuesday edition of Crafting the Deep, my weekly DM only live stream, where I build, write, and prepare for our next session of Call from the Deep. If you're playing characters Gottwald, Max Sabra, or Toril, this is not meant for you, but for the rest of you, welcome. Of course, there will be spoilers. We stream our D&D sessions live on YouTube every Friday. You can join our official Discord server with invite link in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out patreon.com/Rogue Watson. For our campaign, we use Roll20.net for streaming. I use OBS Studio. So this is a special Tuesday stream because Monday our internet just completely shit the bed. There's still specifically the problem right now, and I realize I've been complaining about internet for months now, which has been awful, and we can't wait to switch because then the other company that's putting in a fiber line throughout our neighborhood, literally we have a hole in our yard right now. They've been going up and down the streets, laying down the fiber line, and has been wreaking havoc on everybody's everything. And unfortunately, it seems to specifically wreck both of my crafting schedules, which sucks. Thankfully, fingers crossed, it didn't really mess up Friday's stream at all. And obviously hoping it doesn't do that in the future. They should be almost done by now. But I figure, you know what? I've got some time Tuesday. Why don't we just do a makeup crafting stream? Because frankly, between you and me, I also need the time to be able to prep for this week because I find myself better prepping when I'm doing the stream. So there's a special Tuesday stream of Crafting the Deep because we were not able to do the Monday stream. And actually, this is the same stream event because I was never able to actually connect. So this is the same, how do I describe it? The same video. If you had clicked on the one from Monday, it's the same one. So I was able to just kind of switch it around. Anyway. And I did update it to we're not just talking about the crash anymore. We'll specifically talk about Wreck of the Golden Crown because that is the current dungeon that the party is in, and hopefully it'll be easier to figure out if you need to go back and check things where exactly we are and what we're doing. So the Wreck of the Golden Crown is 70 feet below the water, and the players, interestingly, have already done some reconnaissance, which they don't usually do. I was very proud of them. They went and were restrained and were able to tell, like, okay, there's some Swagan down there, and we know that's going to be a problem. Now, I believe they have, between the four of them, 2 potions of healing, and Toril is already one with the water. He can hold his breath, he can swim in the sea, like, just everything because of his water powers, and Mac can just hold his breath for an hour, which means he essentially always has a potion of water breathing on. I looked it up. Potion of water breathing gives you 1 hour of breathing water. What that means is the party, I believe they have 2 potions that they got from the town they were in last time, Gunbarg. So they should, in theory, have an hour to be able to go underwater and explore. That's not a lot of time. We did shorten the short rests. So they're only 5 minutes long, and obviously combat isn't that long, but this isn't really a dungeon you can kind of loiter in and hang out too long. God damn it, why am I losing? Dropping frames, I have no idea. I did a speed test earlier, everything looked hunky-dory. Apologies, but hopefully at least the audio will come in through. So if you are frustrated, trust me, I am 10 times as frustrated. Just counting down when we can switch our internet to this fiber line and be done with this nonsense. They did mention trying to draw the Swagan out. That would not be ideal for me, the DM. Obviously, I'm hoping to put them in a tricky situation where they have to go underwater and fight a bunch of Swagan on their home turf. Clearly, the players don't want to do that, and that's smart of them to not want to fight a underwater battle, a bunch of underwater fish folk, because even though they'll have potions of water breathing, they will not... they'll still suffer from all the underwater combat rules, right? Which is disadvantage on combat, on melee rolls, a lot of ranged combat rolls. It's very problematic for pretty much anybody who's not Toril, I believe, because he's got the swim speed. And yet, I was kind of hoping to challenge them like that. And honestly, it's not that much combat, although there's a couple monsters on here, I suppose. Mainly, this first area is crawling with Swagan. There's 2 of them on the ballista, but I realized that if the players are coming at it from the top, right, because they go to the mast and then they go down, so I don't think the ballistas would actually shoot at them. Ballistas would be able to shoot anybody around them, but if people are coming literally from the top, then I don't think they'd be shooting up at them. Now, if the players go down and fight a little bit lower, then yeah, these guys can swivel their ballistas around and attack. And it says in the text, they were fully functioning ballistas underwater. I think they would also suffer from underwater combat rules, but then you could also say that they count as a crossbow against a target with a normal range attack. It rolls disadvantage less weapons like crossbow, net, or weapon. So I think you could discount that, and then the ballista range, I think was good enough for doing anything they needed to do. What is that? W3, W4. I guess I don't list it here. I have to list it somewhere. Well, I've got ballista stats written somewhere else. 6 heavy bolts for ammunition. Fasten to the deck, but rotate 360 degrees. But I just realized they wouldn't be able to like take pot shots at the players coming up above. Also, the players could try to stealth down there. I don't know about stealthing in the water. I think it's a little tricky. And actually, Sawagans are pretty perceptive. Passive perception of 15. I bet sharks are pretty perceptive. Predators gonna have to be. 12. Actually, prey has to be more perceptive than predators, I suppose. And regular Sawagan have a 15. Okay. So maybe you could try to do a group stealth check in the water. You'd probably have to impose disadvantage. I mean, that's hard. And then it would have to be a 15 at least to be able to stealth down there where the Sawagan are. So let's not go past a minimum range. Yeah, I don't know. I forget what the range on a ballista is, but... And I did use Sylvan's, I believe, recommendation for height. You do it in like 5-foot squares. So if you put a 3 on there, that means they're 15 feet up. 2 would mean 10 feet up, etc., etc. Try and, in other words, do some kind of 3D battlefield. It's going to be real janky and very hard to visualize and map out on a top-down battlefield, but we will do our best, I suppose, to try and recreate a 3D battlefield to the best of my ability, because I would figure everybody's going to be at different elevations. In fact, do normal Sawagan actually have range attacks, or are they pure? Okay, they can throw their spears, which a spear does say target's normal range, so it's, but a javelin, including a spear, is okay. But it still says it misses beyond weapons normal range. They wouldn't be able to use a spear beyond, is that beyond 60 feet then? How do you read the range thing again? Normal range. There's normal range is within 20 feet. And then you add a disadvantage if it's beyond 20 feet, and then you can't use it at all after 60 feet. So this would say you'd have disadvantage until 20. So you would only be able to use a ranged, only be able to throw a spear up to 20 feet. But because it's a spear, you would not have disadvantage. So that still lowers their ranged capabilities quite a bit. The players might be able to outrange them. Mac has a bow, so that would not help him too much. And I would not let him use a sharpshooter shit in the water either. Sick of that sharpshooter shit. Swagan Raiders, I think they only have their spit thing. They do have a net. They've not used their nets too much. Otherwise, they're all melee. But they have a swimsuit of 40 feet, so honestly, they should just be able to close in with melee also. And then I've got some sharks in here for funsies. I put one on the GM layer just because the shark can be swooping out of the wreckage or something. But this will be the majority of the battle, I think, as most of the Swagan are hanging up here on this ship. How the player... Oops, I just wrecked my mouse. How the players choose to, you know, try and draw them out or something, I don't... Maybe they could try and do some kind of distraction thing and pull some away. I would be willing to, you know, hear them out on that. I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see. We'll see what they try and do. Sawagan are not, I mean, their intelligence. Their intelligence is a 12. They're actually above average intelligent. They're not dumb brutes. So I think the players have to be careful about whatever plans they end up having. Sorry, I keep trying to mess with my... Click too many buttons. I jerked my mouse for a second and I screwed up the DPI on it. It's all weird. So that's a big battle to get into this place, and then you can kind of swim in from multiple directions, it looks like. Through holes in the ceiling, although I don't think it's... I still need to put the lighting on the map too. There's lit areas. W1, W3, 4, and 5 are immersed in clear water and dimly lit by natural light. Characters' areas can see up to 30 feet. Except where noted otherwise in the text, all other areas are unlit and submerged in dirty water. Characters in these areas can see up to 10 feet. So pretty dark underwater. That would actually be a concern. You can't just light a torch either. So you would have to rely on like Savra's Dancing Lights, for example. So, I mean, I'm excited about that venue. This does not, in other words, it's not going to be a dungeon where you're going to have like puzzles and traps, like, because the environment itself is like one big hazard. And it literally, I believe, yeah, it's frigid water. You're supposed to track like every other encounter, or probably like, you know, maybe every time they short rest, they have to make a con save or gain exhaustion because the water is so cold. So they're kind of on a bit of a timer, and they don't really know what they're doing down here. They're just trying to, I don't know, kick down the doors and see like, all right, if this is the Swaggin lair, I guess we gotta kick these guys' asses because they're causing problems. What they don't know is that there are actually prisoners in here. There's a magical room that's kind of an air bubble, and there's a couple prisoners who I still need to put tokens on the map for, including poor Burns' mother is in here. Dad was taken to Bronzo Mine and killed. Mom was taken to this shipwreck and left alive with some other prisoners, which I guess I could just make. I think they are written in here, but they're also a bunch of randos. I probably could make people from Fiskerbach. Yeah, Westra Rhymewave was one of them. Yeah, different people that were captured from ships and whatnot. They've been rescuing. I feel like they've got a lot of people on their ship already, but this is more people they could possibly take. Talk about like character generator if you need more people. This campaign has been apt at giving extra people. I don't know why I've got extra width right there. There we go. So part of it is a rescue operation, and then part of it is just to kick this Sahuagin Baron's ass. He's the boss of the dungeon. Unfortunately, he's alone, and we know we don't like bosses who are alone because it makes them really lonely. But also because it's hard to be an effective boss when you're by yourself, and I don't like it much. Okay, I had started doing the dynamic lighting. I can see that. Let's keep on doing that then. I guess there's an underwater mimic outside of his door, which is kind of cool, but that also means it needs to trigger the actual fight if that's going to be the mimic there. Let's see, the walls are very thin. That's just an opening, I think, right there. Just keep referencing the old map. This might be a door. Let's go, let's see. Yeah, there's a door there. So it is open right there, and then that's a room, that's a room. This whole middle part is open. So I did put light here because I think it said W5 was open. Is that right? Let's see. Where does it talk about lighting? Lighting. General features. Yeah, W5 is an outer area of the wreck. I don't know if it's an outer area of the wreck. I guess because it's got like oh yeah, and these giant grates right there, obviously. So that's got enough light coming in. So that's why I put the torch right there to kind of represent a little bit of light spewing in. Although I did make it kind of dim light. So what it should look like, let's see, we'll use Twirl. It should look like this. Yeah, so that's what they're going to see. So that's nice and dark, but not pitch dark. There's no dynamic lighting in here, so that's why you can see through the rooms, but I like the look of that for sure. All right, let's keep on. So this is the door there, I think. Yeah, that's the door. Close you off, and then we're going to close you off. So a lot of random underwater monsters, though. Giant octopus in one room, a giant eel in another, just kind of hanging out. Seems a little excessive, but how often are they going to fight underwater creatures in an underwater dungeon? I get why the designer wanted to use them. The weird thing is, like, all the Sahuagin are on top. I think that's the main thing I don't like. There's no other, like, Sahuagin battles or things going on. It doesn't feel like a lived-in dungeon. It feels like everybody's just kind of patrolling on the top. So I wonder if it's worth... Yeah, I wonder if it's worth staggering some of them to make it feel like, instead of everybody being out already, Whoops. Shit. I pressed the wrong button. Son of a bitch. Okay, good. It's still there. Maybe putting some of the Sahuagin lower and then having them swim out whenever that fight happens. And that way, maybe if the players are trying to distract them and draw them out, that's less of them that actually get distracted when the players show up thinking, oh, there's only like 3 there, and then I can have the rest show up and be like, nah, there's more than you thought. All right, and then this is the door out here? I think so. That's the door there. So we're going to go all the way down, and then the weird thing is the Sahuagin is large, but the doors are kind of small in here. So I guess I could make the doors larger. It's up to me how big I want the doors to be ultimately. He's a big four-armed bastard. The boss of the Sahuagin, which is appropriate, but I still don't like bosses who are alone. There's just too many things. I mean, action economy aside, there's also too many abilities you can do to just lock somebody down, and then it's like, well, crap. Guess I'm not doing any of my cool stuff. Let's see. Curving. Up. I'll just take you all the way up there. I'm drawing the dynamic lighting right now, so super exciting. Do not have a token for the mimic. I wonder if I can get away with this using a regular mimic token. I think Rhyme added some different mimic tokens. All right, let's make that door bigger. There you go. Door. Right there. Door, door, door. Door, 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 door. A lot of doors. Okay, this is the treasure room. Door's fine. That door's there. Click on that one. Yes, yes. That's one with the octopus. Don't want to open the octopus door. All these are doors. This is actually not a door, it's actually a mimic. Which players are going to think is some real bullshit. I'm cool with that. Alright, those are all the doors. And that's a door. So I think we've got that one lined up. Alright, so we'll go back to Coach Morales in a second. All right, so the fight, I think we want to stagger some of the Sahuagin. So we've got the 2 at the ballista, which I like. That makes sense. They'd be guards. Maybe we'll take... Well, let's just take the bottom numbers as these things. Like 5 and 6 are actually maybe down here. So get rid of your wings. So they're swimming down here, and then I can add them onto the map. Basically, whenever combat starts, maybe after the first round, I can stagger them. Yeah, and then I've already got the other shark stagger, which is why I don't have the numbers on the sharks right now, because I'm smart enough to not put... If I only have 1 unit and I put number 1 on there, I feel like that's kind of obvious if there's a second one. I don't want to tip my hand too far. But the idea would be they would definitely join that fight. I guess the masts would be sight blockers too, wouldn't they? Draw a little circle right there. Is it just the one mast? I guess so. Mast area right there. Okay. All right, so they can enter level 2 multiple paths. They can either enter W9 through this opening on the side. They can enter to W5 via the stairs of the grate. It looks like they can enter W7 via this hole here, if I'm looking at it correctly, and then this one also leads to W5. And W5 is just empty. Visibility reduced to 10 feet. Source of bright light extends this range to 30 feet. Huge doors lead to area W13. They can be opened with successful DC 15 strength check. Several doors lead out of this middle deck. Cargo doors on W5. I do not see giant cargo doors that lead to W13, which is the lower level. Yeah, I don't know what the hell that means. These stairs lead down there. Yeah, stairs is how you get down there, so I'm not sure what they mean by cargo doors. Yeah, that just did not get put on this version of the map, but I'll have to ignore that information. So they can just take this, swim down the stairs to get down there. I'll have to do that. Dynamic lighting also. All right, W7 is the galley, and there is a giant octopus here. As you look around, a thick tentacle emerges from one of the decomposing cabinets and strikes out towards you. Confirm external link. Oh, I see, because you probably point to the wrong one now. I did update that token. Does have underwater camouflage, advantage on stealth checks made while underwater. Now, these this is a beast, so it would just escape if it had to. It would not fight to the death. It would probably do like a surprise attack, grapple, all that schnaz, but as soon as combat would start, it would flee. But what's interesting is that characters could go in this way if they wanted to. What is this? I found something I'm clicking on. That's supposed to be like, I don't know, some kind of map symbol. Huh. Copy that over from yeah, there's ones over here too going down. I don't know what that's from. Delete those. But the octopus would be able to presumably attack them if they came down there. I guess we could always roll it does have a +5 to stealth. Alright, so what does that look like? If I have a +5 with advantage, let's roll our octopus stealth. That was supposed to whisper to me? I'm not sure it did. Okay, yeah, so he's rolling real good. He's got a 23. Oh, I guess I have to do the actual toggle. 23 for stealth. Which means more than likely he would get a surprise attack on the tentacles and then probably flee pretty quickly after that little round. After that little dust up. So not a huge fight there, even though he's got a decent amount of hit points. And these Sahuagin probably wouldn't be there. They'd be having fought in the upper fight. Eel's Hollow. This is this open room next to W9. It's filled with junk. Creature without a swim speed has disadvantage on attack roll in this area. I don't know why the designer decided to do that. Make those notes. Because, Sailor Jason, creatures already have disadvantage if they don't have a swim speed. I guess you could be using, you know, short sword or dagger or something to try to get by with that. So it just feels like you're adding insult to injury. You're already suffering from all the underwater combat penalties, and this is like, oh, by the way, it's even more cramped. You're like super screwed for fighting. I don't know. Feels a little too much to keep track of. Giant lightning eel has made this room its lair. It can be noticed with a passive perception score of 15 or higher. Otherwise, it surprises the characters when it attacks. So that must be the designer straight up giving it to it. It does not normally have that kind of stealth. This is a much scarier creature. However, because it's got multi-attack, 2 bite attacks, which deal an average of 14 damage, including lightning damage, has a reach of 10 feet, and one creature that yield touch within 10 feet of it outside water, or each creature within 15 feet of it in water must make a DC 12 con save or take 3d8 lightning damage. Everybody within 15 feet has to do that, so that would be pretty fun to start a combat with that. If the target takes any of this damage, the target is stunned until the end of the eel's next turn. Wowzers. Well, but then it says if they do make the save, then they take half as much damage and isn't stunned. So I think those two sentences contradict each other. Fun little stat block, though. I would definitely rather use that than the giant octopus. For sure. Didn't actually roll hit points for these guys either. Oh, it's possible my macros are not working. They are not. Let's reset that. I have learned, by the way, to keep a tab open for just this reason, so I can reset them quickly. Now are you gonna work? Yay. Do 1 hit points. Alright. So I'm looking forward to using that creature. I can't imagine they would come in here. Room is piled high with rocks, in which seaweed and corals have grown, hardly any space to move inside. Creatures exceed on a wisdom perception check. Notice dozens of metal ingots underneath the rocks when you're to beyond value. There are 6 gold ingots and 8 adamantine ingots. Oddly, both 10 gold each. That could be salvaged. So, alright, you can find some money, I guess. The armory, which is mostly destroyed in here, holds daggers, darts, javelins, net, 2 short swords, 2 spears, and a trident. It's kind of empty stuff. Did we already even talk about W6? Is the storage area. Yeah, everything is basically either empty or has these giant monsters in it. Giant water monsters. W10, Swagin's quarters. Has a trunk, contains seashell armor not currently used by the Swagin. Cobble together a breastplate from the items. The bottom of the trunk are 3 pearl and coral necklaces and 2 whalebone shark idols. So more loot. No treasure, though. I think all the treasure's in W12. And then W11 is the Baron's quarters. The door to this area is a mimic with a 15-foot swim speed and the water-breathing trait. So, unfortunately, it doesn't have art for said mimic. Oh, it's labeled underwater mimic. Okay. So let's see if we can find better mimic art. Oh, wow. There's a bunch of mimic art in here. I don't think any of it's underwater mimic, though. Cave mimic, dune mimic, enormous mimic from Monster Manual Expanded. Oh, that's glorious. It's a giant tower. That's cute. A lock mimic. Ah, that's pretty close. That's probably tiny, though. Yeah. It's supposed to be a full door. As far as I'm aware, it's just a straight up mimic stat block. That just has the underwater traits. This is the one from Rime. That's actually probably the best token art I can use, though. That actually looks like a mimic. Yeah, shifting out of the wall. Spitting, I don't want to use a spitting mimic, though. I think it's way too strong. It's a CR5. That's as strong as the frickin' boss, I think. What is a regular mimic? CR2. Not nearly as bad. Pretty much there, kind of like the eel for its like big surprise, like, oh, it's a bad thing that's going to hit us. But when you actually go to fight it, it's pretty limited. But if the players trigger this, I think that, because the way it's written is like the Baron doesn't pay any attention to that, but I gotta think that the second he gets triggered, or the second the door mimic gets triggered, the Baron would also join that fight. Alright, so we're gonna shrink you, and we're actually just gonna point you to the underwater mimic. I think that's the best way to do that. Which means I need to fix your hit points and armor class, I believe. So you should be a 12 and a 58. Chew on BC AC and 58 average, although we can still roll. Oh, 49. Man. Not a great roll. For hit points. Let's see. Water breathing and Swagan and their allies know this, but Karg the Baron tolerates its presence as a deterrent to intruders. Karg knows that feeding the mimic fish causes it to move, leaving the door frame empty. If a character touches the door, reader paraphrase the following. You reach out for the door and find yourself stuck to the rotting wood. Before you, the door transforms, unfolding tentacles and decaying timber and opening a huge fanged maw. Unless he has joined a fight in Area W13. Karg the Swagan Baron is here sculpting its king mast in a frenzy. It doesn't make any sense to me. There's no way the players have this mimic fight and Karg isn't aware of things. The awkward thing is the mimic would transform into the creature and then the Baron would be like kind of behind the mimic. I mean, the mimic can still move. So it gets a little awkward. In other words, if they're trying to fight this door creature and then the boss is alerted, but he can't really get to the players because of how the mimic's doing that. But I guess I could like shuffle out of the way and let the boss come through. So maybe I could treat the mimic like a minion in that case. I mean, it does say you can control it with fish. And if they're grappling, then it can just move creatures out of the way. Get advantage on that pseudopod attack. So let's do the pseudopod first, and then I guess it does the bite attack, which is a little bit stronger. Because now if you combine that mimic, it's gonna be really awkward to turn that into a... How would I do that in Roll20? Should I open the door and just have the mimic there? Or not open the door? Well, the bad thing is if I leave it like this... Because this allows the players the ability to open the door. So if you do that, and they just like walk up and click it and open it, and then I got to deal with the fact that they can see the Swagan, but then there's the door actually transforms into the mimic. I can always go to the light level and delete the entire door. And then after they trigger it, or you move the door to the locked setting, which prevents them from opening it, but then the door is not actually locked. How's that Baron stat block looking? 16 AC, 76 hit points. So he is a boss, so let's roll until we get higher than average hit points. So 76, 89. That's my first roll. That'll work. He attacks with 3 attacks, 1 with his bite and 2 with his claws or trident with a +7 to hit. So a triple attack is pretty nice. +7, average damage on each one of those is like 11. And he has the Swagan Blood Frenzy, advantage on melee attacks against any creature doesn't have all its hit points. Just a bruiser of a boss. Also, magically command any shark within 120 feet. So if we're out of Swagan allies by now, then maybe we summon a few sharks into combat, right? That's a pretty obvious minion choice. Even if we've got the Mimic doing shit, we could still do that and really make it a crazy boss fight. Probably depends on how magnanimous I'm feeling and how injured the players are, but I kind of like the idea of him summoning some hunter sharks. Now, not necessarily instantly appearing on the battlefield, but Yeah, you could call a few. Hunter Sharks, I mean, very simple to run. They've got the Blood Frenzy, so advantage. They do a fuck ton of damage with their attack, +6 for 13 piercing. My gosh. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Is it... Hunter Shark's way too big. Wait, that's a... That looks like a... Yeah, it looks like a different thing. Reef Shark is what I want. That's why this is so strong. Jeez. I mean, I could use a Hunter Shark, but I think Reef Shark is the more normal regular stat block house. Yeah, there we go. This is the one I meant to put on there. There we go. +4 to hit, 6 damage. The CR half. Yeah, we can add those guys a little bit more cavalier than the other guy. The other one's like the boss of sharks. Shark boss. You there. Because the nice thing is these guys can fly in kind of from anywhere. I guess I'd have to come from the open door. This area is less exposed to the outside. Although it does say you can smash the walls and actually create your own openings if you wanted to. And we've got some shark allies. Should we want them? Sometimes it can be fun. So I like the idea of the door mimic. We'll just have to do our best in terms of the awkwardness, because this guy does not have any range attacks. The mimic would need to like pseudopod, grab them, kind of grapple them slightly out of the way, or I don't know, the Sahuagin can just shove past him as this thing like detaches from the door frame. He's a big guy with like the forearms. And Karg has a ring of keys attached to his coral belt that opens the door to W12 and the chests in W12 and W15. 12 is locked, reinforced with steel bars. Door can be broken down with a DC 20 strength check, which Gottwald's actually pretty good at, or picked with a successful DC 18 dex check using thieves' tools, or just opened with the keys. There's also a swarm of quippers in here, because we're not done yet putting all the water creatures in here. In this case, it sounds like they were specifically, yeah, enticed by the Sahuagin, feed them regularly. Another one, I have to find another actual token for, though. This has been the bummer of using a third-party adventure. Swarm of quips. Please. There's a swarm of crustaceans. I don't think they're on the map layer. So they are guarding this room here. 3 wooden chests unlocked. First 3 potions of healing, 2 potions of greater healing, and a potion of animal friendship. Oh man, you get a potion of animal friendship on the octopus if you did it in the right order of events. Must be clean before use. Third contains a suit of leather mariner's armor. This is the one group that I just don't think... Well, Toro doesn't care about mariner's armor. Gottwald does have mariner's armor, but he doesn't like the AC reduction. In fact, this will be the real test if he decides to put on the, whatever it was, like the AC 14 mariner's armor. It's just like, do you want your... do you want disadvantage on all your attack rolls, or do you want to be better tanky? It's actually kind of a hard choice when it's that much of an AC difference. But then Savra as a wizard, I don't think she wears any armor. And Mac as a turtle doesn't wear any armor. So I should probably look at maybe changing Mariner's armor. And I should change it to something that probably gives... underwater abilities, because that's the designers wanting to try to give all these abilities to the players pretty early on. They can get a survivor's mantle in Bronzo Mine, which allows you to breathe underwater, but I'll need to come up with at least one more thing, I guess. Now this one also gives you a swimming speed. Mariner's armor, actually, in fact, it doesn't let you breathe underwater, it just lets you do the swimming speed. That's interesting. So something that gives it swimming speed, maybe? I don't know. I'll have to look and see what interesting items. I do like the Cube of Force. I looked that one up. I like that ability. It seems like you can make yourself kind of a force field, but you have to like choose specifically what it blocks, and it does cost charges that very randomly get recharged. It's a 1d20 every day to recharge it. So you could, I mean, that's, talk about a big dice roll. But it starts with like 30 some, so you'd be able to use it a while before you start worrying about running low on charges. Like spell effects can't pass through the barriers, pretty huge. Although, you know, you put it on yourself, so that gets tricky for whoever wants to use it. I mean, yeah, nothing can pass through the barrier. Living matter can't pass through. Almost feels like something you would use more in like utility, like with walking on a dungeon, than you would in combat necessarily. But it's just one of those interesting items, so I'm gonna keep that one. The Cube of Force belongs to Hoach Marath. I don't get a lot of Hoach Marath stuff. I don't get, like, he's supposed to wake up as a revenant, or he's supposed to already be a revenant and be pissed off that his shit's stolen, I guess. And somehow the Sahuagin were able to keep a revenant locked up for all this time. But it says the Sahuagin were specifically able to steal his Staff of the Magi and then give it to the bad guys, who now, it's one of the high hoity-toity bad guys out in Purple Rocks that have his Staff of the Magi. And then they were just able to lock him up, a fucking revenant, inside that little cabin. And apparently, I guess, keep his Cube of Force somewhere? It does say the cube has to be repaired by a spellcast for 500 gold. Like, that's a weird thing to introduce to players. It's a Cube of Force. It's a rare. Yeah, it is a rare attunement. I don't know. That seems weird. Why not just give it to him? Coral chests are both locked with complex mechanisms. Opening them requires a key. Resembles a shark jaw. Okay. They're not trapped, though. Bunch of loot in there, basically. But some magic items, I'll just probably replace that leather mariner's armor with something else. I don't know. All right, and then the hold. So that's the second level, and there's a lowest level, which we need to still do dynamic lighting on. I mean, I could change it to something else. It's not a Revenant, technically. It's using the Revenant variant. It's even more powerful. It's a Revenant with, like, spells. It's even crazier because it could be a potential ally if the players, like, play their cards right. Not that I necessarily want to give them that powerful of a creature. Also, Revenant, it might cause more problems than it's worth, because I think Revenants always know, like, they're like Terminator hunting you style. And specifically a big part of the story here is the players needing the information about where the bad guys are, where they have to go, all that. So that would kind of fall apart. The designer even says, like, at one point the Revenant, like, takes off towards, like, the final area, and, like, well, okay, do the players follow him, or how they know the general area of where they have to go? It all seems a little too problematic to just throw at them like that. So I'm liking that idea less and less. I do like the idea of giving them a undead creature they can talk to, I guess. Maybe get some context. Although, if you just need a social opportunity, there are creatures in this hold area right here that they can rescue. So that'll actually be your information. The other option is I skip the undead guy completely and just say it's a little too complicated. Just have some notes in there about how this was a mage's quarters or something and not have any danger level there. So I don't know. I'm kind of going back and forth on it right now. Only 2 doors on this level. But we'll go back to that room so we can double check, because that's probably the most important thing I need to think about in here. Oh, there's more sharks down in W13. The deck is guarded by 3 Marrow. And on initiative 20, 2 reef sharks join the fight. Hey, I was about to do that. I was literally going to do that. maybe not that exact mechanical way of doing it, but having 2 Reef Sharks join the other fight, joining the boss fight, not necessarily this one. Another Fleas to Area W11 to alert Karg. Okay. I do like that. The fact that if the players make it all the way down here, because this kind of feels like the climax when you're rescuing the heroes, then it does feel like the boss would come down and have the fight right there. So I'm glad the designer thought of that. Marrow. Not quite up on my water creature information. Marrow hunt coastal waters, preying on fisherfolk, merfolk, and other edible creatures that cross their paths. Savage monsters snatch and devour unwary prey, haul down corpses back to the underwater grottos to feed. Sounds a lot like the Sahuagin, frankly. They are chaotic evil. They're a little bit dumber than the Sahuagin, I guess. Looks like they're kind of evil touched merfolk. I don't know why they're here working. Guarded by 3 Marrow allies of the Sahuagin. Is it just better to have a slight variance of the stat blocks? Marrow are stronger. They look cooler. They're definitely stronger than the average Sahuagin. 18 strength. 45 hit points, AC of 13. They have multi-attack. They do not have the Sahuagin's. This encounter is from Call from the Deep. This is not Ghost of Saltmarsh. We are firmly in Call from the Deep right now, and for a while we'll be in Call from the Deep. Call from the Deep has been all of... since they leveled up to 4, this entire island sequence. So they did Gunbarg, they went across the island, they went to the village, they did the Nautiloid crash site, this shipwreck, and then the Bronzo Mine is all Chapter 1 from Call from the Deep. It's a lot of content. And then Chapter 2 is going to be all the different attacks on all the different cities, which I'm going to be melding into just one city and one big attack. And then after that, we'll finally start seeding back into some Ghost of Saltmarsh stuff. But I'm quite determined those order events, and frankly, the players will be determining those order of events as well. Marrow were also large. That's a bit scarier fight. They just look more intimidating. So that's kind of a hell of a fight down there. 3 Marrow. They have multi-attack each. +6 with 8 or 9 damage. Yeah, these guys are nasty looking. And there's 3 of them down here. It looks like this whole open area is just open to the sea, which means the players could conceivably... You can't really see it from here. Because this is all open, is it not? 3 shark-like creatures with humanoid torsos and long, muscular fish tails, covered with spiny fins of deadly claws. Each carries an ivory harpoon. Yeah, I don't like the fact that this is open to the water, because this is all open. It just, If the players just willy-nilly swimming down here, I mean, the Marrow would fucking see them, right? Like... There's not much height difference. It seems like you would aggro these creatures pretty quickly if you decide to take this this jagged opening. I can explain it where, like, yeah, you can see you can see into the second level, and you believe that the lowest deck is also broken. But as soon as somebody peeks their head down there, they're gonna see these large ass shark creatures down there. Yeah, this is all level 4. 3 CR2. It seems a little... And remember, underwater combat rules, right? That means everybody but the fish creatures are basically at disadvantage. Tempted to take one of these guys out. Seems a bit much. Seems like a bit much. If anything, it'd be cooler to have the Marrow... to separate these fights out a little bit, I think, would help feel more dungeony. That does seem a bit much. Also, on the second round of the fight, 2 Reef Sharks join the fight. That seems real crazy. W14, which is in the north, which has the Shield of Farsight. I wish it had a more magical component to it. Mind Flayer can give the shield to a thrower hanging on the wall in its lair. As long as the shield's on the same plane of existence, the Mind Flayer can see through the shield's eye, which has dark vision out to a range of 60 feet. While peering through this magical eye, the Mind Flayer can use its Mind Blast action as though it were standing behind the shield. Which is very powerful. The fact that you can basically use Mind Blast out of your shield, but it's up to the Mind Flayer itself who's doing it. So I feel like there should be some interesting rules around even like having this shield. Yeah, well, and balance is a difficult thing, right? Because like so many different parties are balanced differently. The dice, obviously, there's always an RNG element. So far, they've persevered. And what's funny is the hardest fight we've had so far was not a Call from the Deep fight. It was that Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh, the Sea Ghost fight, was by far the hardest. But I've also been able, I've been doing adjustments along the way, so I guess that's a factor. Like right now, I'm thinking about not having all 3 of these Marrow here. It's forward by Luz Gugal and has been used to control the Swaggin. Characters could take it. If they do, Karg the Baron does anything to get it back. The shield might help the characters defeat the Swaggin and begin to manipulate the party or blast the characters to assist the Swaggin. Okay. It would be cool if as soon as they open the door and they see this thing and it like sees them, I use a Mind Flayer Mind Blast action. At that point, it's like a dungeon trap thing. Maybe they can I might do some kind of cutscene where they can like feel some kind of powerful presence behind it. They might think this is like, oh shit, this is like the big boss here, like hiding behind, when actually it's just one of the lieutenants. But in that case, maybe they'll treat the shield more like a horrible magic item they need to destroy versus somebody grabbing it. But you never know what's going to happen when it comes to players, I suppose. And then Prisoner's Hold. 6 stones marked an arcane rune. They keep a permanent refreshing bubble of air within their boundary. Stones can be found successful perception check. The runes can be deactivated with a successful arcana check. The stone spell ends if moved more than 20 feet apart, but resume their effect inside that range. So pretty powerful, because the designer, I don't know if they meant to do this, but basically gives the players an ability to create kind of an air pocket. Actually, more than air pocket, this is a full room. As long as they keep these 6 magic bubbling stones within 20 feet of each other. Because it doesn't say if you like remove them what happens. It just says as long as if they're moved within 20 feet. It also doesn't mention how big the stones are. And I'm not about like not necessarily giving the players that ability to do that. It's like, I guess if they were each had these stones, I don't know, in a circle or something, they could create some. Maybe they could craft it with. You could maybe attach it to some kind of boat structure and then build your own like submersible essentially at that point. That might come in really handy. So, trapped in the room are 4 prisoners who are too disoriented to speak. Restoring hit points to prisoners or a medicine check restores their ability to speak. And then there's just a bunch of kind of randos, except for Westra, who is Mother to Burn, which would be kind of a dark connection to make, I suppose. Like, oh, she really bears a very striking resemblance to poor Burn. Remember the Emerald Enclave, a dude from Chult, and a pirate from a pirate ship. Be funny if I had Captain Callus in here or something. Trying to think like we're too early in the campaign to put too many other NPCs in here already. I do plan on having Captain Callus show up probably in that chapter, the beginning of chapter 2, when they're racing back to Neverwinter. I'll have like Callus come up kind of alongside them, and they can tell him to go kick some ass with them or something. There's a locked wooden chest. The room that contains the belongings of prisoners. Karg is the key. Characters open the chest. Successful strength check. Bundle of parchment and scrolls contain indecipherable scrawlings. One piece of apartment sticks out as a map of the sword crow scrawled upon it. Cities Neverwinter, Winterdeep, and Baldur's Gate have been blotted out with black ink. City of Waterdeep is also circled. Characters the pirate or sailor background know that such a map signifies a coming pirate attack. I could do this, or I could give it, because I mean, why would the villains put the chest in with the prisoners that house all the information? That doesn't make any fucking sense. I think what would make more sense is either the Sahuagin Baron is receiving a vision, maybe from the statue, of, the attack is underway, all forces to Neverwinter now, or something like a big call going out, or use that Shield of Far Sight thing. The only bad thing is if I don't do it with Karg, have that scene happen, and then they never see the Shield of Far Sight, but maybe I'll just have like some kind of, have the shield give like a PA announcement or something. But I think that'll work better than actually finding some kind of written correspondence. Doesn't really make sense, especially because they're underwater. So I think we'll change that into either a vision that Karg is receiving. He's even like carving a statue, I think, in there at the time, although he's going to be battling the player as soon as they see him. Or from that Shield of Far Sight, we'll have some kind of information go out. And just based on that information, they could hurry back to Neverwinter, or they could be like, hey, well, let's go check out this mine first, because it's kind of on the way. And then at the mine, they'll be able to get further context about what is actually going down at Neverwinter. But that's the important thing, is they'll just be here and they'll get that information. So far, all their rewards have been information. Although taking out the Sahuagin in this area would be extremely good. This is their home base, and that would really help basically save Gunderlin and allow them to become essentially the heroes of this island, which is great because then they would be escalating beyond tier 1, and then they can go handle a much larger threat, which is going to rescue the big attack on Neverwinter, or at least help with that. So we're definitely going to spend Thursday talking more about Wreck of the Golden Crown, try to rebalance some stuff. We didn't really get to Hoch Miraz much. There's still some more tokens I need to find and throw on the map, but I think we made some good progress in talking about a interesting underwater dungeon crawl. So thank you for joining me for this special Tuesday episode of Crafting the Deep. If you enjoy the content, please do check out patreon.com/Rogue Watson. Shouts to Planet Patrons: Joe, Will, Thomas, Stan, Brandon, Zendersider, David Eclectic, Roleplay Roll, Christopher, Corey, Big Nut, John F, John L, Scott, Eric, Tyler, Nathan, Camp Crystal Lake, Counselor, Andrew, Daryl, the Reldron, Captain Woody, Stephanie, Andy, Patrick, Jason, and Gold Patrons: RPG Papercrafts, Pretty Boy, and Human, Lizard, Lion, Sam, Lippy's Buds, Jerome, Nathan, Fast Like Tortoise, Scott, Repus, Carolyn, Jerry, and Thomas. Thank you all very much for your support. I will see you all for another crafting stream on Thursday. Hopefully. No internet problems. Damn it.